All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. We're down to four players who still have a shot at winning the coveted Heisman Trophy here in 2023 as the quartet that'll be heading to New York City later on this week was just announced. You got Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., Oregon quarterback Bo Nix, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, and Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. are all heading towards the Big Apple. You look at all of these players, and they all have unique stories, and they're all very deserving as far as being Heisman finalists. You look at Marvin Harrison Jr., 67 catches this past season for more than 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. We're talking about a player in Marvin Harrison Jr. that could possibly be the first overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft. He also did it with an inconsistent Ohio State offense. And I say that because the Buckeyes had so many injuries. Emeka Ebuga was out for a significant amount of time. There were some inconsistencies with Kyle McCord, who was in his first year as a starting quarterback for Ohio State. And Marvin Harrison Jr. had to deal with a lot of attention his way, a lot of double coverage, but nonetheless, he still put together a pretty solid season. And obviously, his biggest game came against Penn State earlier this year in Columbus when he had 11 catches for a buck 62 and a touchdown to help the Buckeyes knock off the Nittany Lions. Then you look at Jaden Daniels, and a lot of people are looking at Jaden Daniels as the favorite. Of course, he had a phenomenal season this year for LSU, 40 touchdowns to just four interceptions. He also had more than 1,100 yards on the ground. And honestly, for LSU, they went 9-3 this year. They began the year as a top five team. A lot of people were hoping that and expecting LSU to build off of their strong season last year, where they got to the SEC championship game, ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw this year. And honestly, it was no fault of Jaden Daniels. You're talking about a guy that put up phenomenal numbers. The LSU defense was not that good. We saw a game earlier this season against Ole Miss in Oxford. Jaden Daniels was 27 of 36 passing for 414 yards, four touchdowns, no interceptions, and he also had 99 yards on the ground. But LSU scored 49 points that day while they gave up 55 to Ole Miss. Honestly, probably his toughest game of the year, his two toughest games of the year were to start off the year against Florida State, another top 10 team, and then against Alabama. And that, defense, and of course, we know how good Alabama's defense is. Just ask Georgia. Then, you look at the quarterbacks coming out of the Pac 12, and there's a pair of them. I'm talking about Bo Nix, first, of course, out of the University of Oregon. And Bo Nix had himself a tremendous season. Bo Nix has played some good football ever since going to the Pacific Northwest. All of these guys that are finalists, they started, with the exception of Marvin Harrison Jr., started at a different school. Jaden Daniels, Arizona State. Bo Nix, originally at Auburn, and Michael Penix Jr., originally at Indiana. But nonetheless, with Bo Nix, he had himself a phenomenal year, 40 touchdowns to just three interceptions. Didn't have the rushing numbers like Jaden Daniels did. And he's a big reason why Oregon was in the mix for the bulk of this year to win or get at least get to the college football playoff. And then you got Michael Penix Jr. out of Oregon, 33 touchdowns, nine interceptions. He completed nearly 66% of his passes. So his completion percentage is not as high as that of Bo Nix. Bo Nix completed more than 77% of his passes, while Jaden Daniels completed just over 72. But nonetheless, Michael Penix Jr. and his team just consistently went out there and found ways to win the close games. And this is a big reason why the University of Washington is heading to the college football playoff. So again, all of these guys, they have very compelling stories, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see who wins this award. At the end of the day, it can go several different ways. I think it's going to be quarterback because very rarely, just like it is with the MVP award in the National Football League, more often than not, the Heisman is given to a quarterback. Of course, there was a time, when we saw more running backs getting the award, and of course, those were in the days where teams ran the football more. Obviously, a lot of it coming out of the option, but nonetheless, obviously, the game of college football has changed. All three of these quarterbacks, to me, I think, tell very compelling stories. You can't go wrong either way. I will give the leg up to Michael Penix Jr. over Bo Nix. Stat wise, Bo Nix has the better numbers. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those scenarios where Michael Penix Jr. beat Bo Nix twice this year in head-to-head matchups, and I think that accounts for something. I'm looking at it with Michael Penix Jr. and Jaden Daniels, and again, Jaden Daniels makes a very compelling case to be the Heisman winner because stat wise, he has better numbers than Michael Penix Jr. But I think at the end of the day, you got to look at it. The bulk of the time, especially in recent history, the Heisman winner is in the college football playoff. And of course, before the college football playoff, he was playing in the BCS championship game. Last year's winner, Caleb Williams, did not reach the college football playoff. His USC Trojans were 11-1 in the regular season, lost the Pac-12 championship game to Utah, and of course, obviously, the fortunes of USC changed in that contest when Caleb Williams went out with the hamstring injury. But nonetheless, his numbers were the big reason why a lot of people expected and thought USC could get to the college football playoff last year. But you look at the five previous winners before that, all of them played in the college football playoff. Bryce Young, Devonta Smith, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. So I think that definitely accounts for something. I think it also works in the favor of Michael Penix Jr. to say, hey, you know what? A lot of people who maybe didn't watch West Coast football, and of course, there's always that West Coast bias that people are talking about. They got an opportunity to see him in prime time last Friday night and see him operate when Washington beat Oregon for the Pac-12 championship. And granted, it was a team effort because Washington's running game with Dylan Johnson was very effective. Their offensive line opened a lot of holes for Dylan Johnson. Their offensive line did a solid job of protecting Michael Penix Jr. In that contest as well. And I think a lot of people on the East Coast who might not have had an opportunity to see him definitely watched him in that game. And that's why I think he has a legitimate opportunity to win the Heisman. Jaden Daniels has better numbers. You cannot get around that. Don't get me wrong. LSU had a good season. But again, historically, it's all about the guys that are playing for the big games come January. And of course, in the college football landscape, it does not get bigger than the college football playoff. Pac-12 odds right here as far as winning the Heisman in consecutive years. Of course, Caleb Williams did it last year. Either Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. are looking to do it this year. And of course, in the case of Michael Penix Jr., if he were to win the Heisman, he would be the first Washington Husky to do so. So, me personally, if I had a vote, I would go with Michael Penix Jr. just off of his success as well as the success of the team. No disrespect to Jaden Daniels. He has put up a phenomenal season. A lot of it, like I said, he's been done in by his defense. It's going to be interesting to see which way that the voters will go when this award is handed out later this month. But nonetheless, with these four gentlemen here, you cannot go wrong. Unfortunately for Marvin Harrison Jr., it's just the fact that he can't control who's getting him the football and when he gets the football. But of course, if you've watched Marvin Harrison Jr. operate throughout his collegiate career, when he has the football in his hands, he is a very dangerous man. And I think he is going to have tremendous success at the National Football League level. But nonetheless, let's see how it goes down for the Heisman voting. Let's see who gets to raise that hardware. Will it be Penix? Will it be Nix? Will it be Marvin Harrison Jr. or will it be Jaden Daniels? Only time will tell. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.